My name is Mary Mason. I am a principal scientist for Milliken Company, and I work in the chemical division. The average person touches about 50 Milliken products a day. If you've taken a trip somewhere using an airline, you're coming into contact with a Milliken product. When you get into your car, you're touching Milliken fabric. When you go to sleep in your bed, you're touching a product that Milliken actually has played a role in terms of making. Coming to work for me is fun. I want to be dependable. If someone is asking me to do something, that I can't do it for them. So just that ability to accomplish something gives me internal satisfaction. And the Innovation Gallery, of course, is located at the Roger Milliken Center. This is basically where you can see that we've displayed the innovations that Milliken partakes in. Several years ago, I had some relatives come down to visit me from Philadelphia. Milliken is a business-to-business company. So a lot of times, I may say to a friend or a family member that I work for Milliken, but they've never heard of Milliken. But they've touched so many of the Milliken products, and they really don't come to realize that. But when my aunt came here and she saw all the things that you might go to the store and buy, and she says, wow, you guys play a role in that. This is a very powerful area, I think, for any guest that we bring to our company. How do I define innovation? I think of innovation as a process. There's usually a need that needs to be fulfilled. So there's a need that's identified that we want to pursue. You have to make connections. So you have to know something about that particular area, and then maybe know something about different areas where you can take this new information and allow that new information to help you create, or solve a particular problem. But you also have to make sure that you win with that particular product or new process that you're coming up with. So there has to be an intended audience that also views it as an innovation as well. So I would say a lot of my innovation work, I don't really create, these new molecules. It's one thing to make a new molecule, but it's always a good thing to have a better process to make it. So that's probably more of the area in which I play. So I work a lot with manufacturing in terms of the scale up of molecules. When you take it from the lab to the plant, it's not a linear scale. A lot of things that work well in the lab do not work so well at the plant. So therefore you have to go back and understand why things are the way they are, and then make changes, do experiments. Our antioxidant technology that we developed here, it was a molecule that was created in the lab by another scientist, but that molecule was vastly different from other things that we have manufactured. We didn't want to have to spend a lot of money in terms of buying new equipment to scale this molecule up. Having to use the essential pots and pans that we already have with additional investment and take that process. So I took that process to the plant, spent many hours and nights at the plant babysitting that, and I've seen it change, for the number of years that we've been making it. Not only am I a chemist, but I wear many different hats as well, one of which is regulatory. So whenever we, make a new molecule, we have to register it in order to be able to actually manufacture it, but also to sell it in different countries. If we know that we've done something wrong, or if we find out later on that a mistake particularly was made, we have no problem turning ourselves in to make sure that we correct that particular mistake. Mistakes happen, unfortunately, all the time. It takes a special company to recognize when a mistake has been made, and we want to do the right thing to correct it. One of the key learnings that I had, about something that didn't go as well as anticipated or expected, my learning from that is communication is really key. And communication actually is a two-way street. When you're, leading a particular area or group of people, you may get up, and convey a particular message, but you need to go back and make sure that message was heard the way it was intended for you to convey it. Just that two-way communication helps in terms of making a particular process or endeavor to be extremely successful. Maybe even just going back to those individual key people and saying, hey, this is what was mentioned, or this is a particular problem that we need to overcome. What are your thoughts on that? Or what did you hear? What was the take-home message that you received from the information that was given? One of the things that I remember from my pottery instructor was, do not fall in love with a piece of pottery until it is glazed, fired, and finished. You throw a piece of pottery on the wheel, let it dry, it can get a crack. Therefore, you have to start all over again. If it happens to survive that first step, you glaze it. You have different interactions with the glazes. If you mix glazes, you have different interactions between those two particular glazes. There's the firing itself. You have time and temperature variables that don't always work as planned. Same thing in the lab. You just have to basically get up, start it over again. I just love to take a piece of clay that has no shape at all. I do wheel work, and that in the very beginning was very, very, very tough to do. And a lot like chemistry, when you go to the lab and you do things, you do experiments, you're not always successful. Same way, I guess, with learning to throw on that wheel. It took a lot of tries. I had to look at, although I had an instructor in a class, and he tried to instruct and try to help you, guide you in terms of becoming a better potter. But you have to do work outside of that. And so I looked at a lot of YouTube videos, and I just sat at home and practice and practice and practice. But just taking a piece of clay that has no shape and just molding it into something that's beautiful, I guess, brings me joy. You want to ask yourself why you're doing it, number one, and then look inward and see what are your skills sets in terms of becoming a scientist. And maybe if you don't know yourself that well, you could ask others. Like I remembered that a middle school teacher who said to me that I was good in science. And then investigate. If you can intern somewhere, go there and get the experience to try to see what it's really like. And don't be afraid of failure. My name is Mary Mason. Those were my notes on innovation.